So extreme value distribution is a classical approach. So it is the distribution of maximum of n match scores to independent random sequences. So if the probability of maximum being greater than the best observed score is small, then the observation is significant. So probability of maximum being the greater then the best observed score is small. So in order to have the probabilities, we generally go for the left tails of those distributions. So guys, if we are taking top 2% of the values, so we want to have our p-values to be 0.02. Actually we are looking from the other side of our distribution. It's hard to understand, but in most of the cases while we are talking about the p-values, we are looking for the values less than some number. So probability of seeing an event, say if we are looking at the probability 0.05 or less, so that event should be observed less than 5% of the time. So it should be like present in any of the extreme, either left or right. So we take all those scores and we take their maximum numbers. In this way all scores are actually normal random numbers, random that they can attain any value. So we have all those scores and we pick up the maximum among them and we draw their distribution. So the probability of getting those maximum scores less than, say for example, a threshold x is given by this equation that is there in the literature. So that is equal to exponents into minus k n e raised power this lambda into x minus mu. So that is the equation which is given to us, where k and lambda are constants and they depend on scoring matrices and gap penalties. So this form of distribution is called as extreme value distribution or EVD. Remember, Z distribution we have already seen as a normal distribution, so that has a similar shape or form. We actually did not look into its actual equation, but that equation was something similar to this. So this E-value distribution is a pretty similar concept. So we calculate the probability that match from a search of a large number of n of unrelated sequences have a score greater than observed maximal scores. So in that case we get those probabilities and see what those probabilities are from the previous equation, and the p-values of less than 0.05 or 0.01 indicate that sequences that give rise to observed scores are most likely related. So that is the significant p-values. So remember guys, whenever we are doing those tests, we are looking for this standard, or we call it as alpha, this 0.05 or 0.01. So if we draw our distributions, we set our alpha or significance levels here. If we are doing our testing on in this tail, so that is we can our alpha 0.05. So any value lying over here is significant. Sometimes we have our strict conditions where we are looking for just these values to be present in the lower 1%. So that is our alpha becomes 0.01. So there is another parameter called as E-value, which is actually related to HSPs, or the how many significant high scoring pairs we are getting. So it's the number of unrelated matches with score greater than S is approximately Poisson distributed with the mean of this one E is equal to S K M N E minus lambda into S. So that is actually a relation that tells us the mean or the expectation value for how many high scoring pairs we will get that. So that thing we call in our language as E-values. There is another concept called as bit score. So we take the score, we calculate it, if you remember in our probability sections, the previous ones, where we use those Bayesian equations, S dash. So that score is normalized into log to the base 2. So that is called as bit score. It helps estimate the magnitude of such space. One needs to look before expecting a score as good as this by chance. So that is how much of the database is required or how much sequences we need to look upon if we want to we want to assess that this happened by chance, so that it gives you an idea about that. So say in other way around, it can tells you like you need to see as many as this sequences, possible sequences, if you want to predict it as a chance event. So for bit score, the equation was this S dash. We can also get this S dash into this equation. So S dash is given by lambda S minus log natural K to the log natural of 2. So in this way they are correlated with one another. So where ln2 is incorporating the bit score also. So E values corresponding to the bit score, they are correlated by this equation. So E is equal to mn into 2 raised power minus S dash. Whereas we know that 2 raised power minus S dash is your P. So when we plug in this, how P and E are related, that is we can see in the next page. So P is equal to 2 raised power minus S, which is S dash over here, and E is equal to mn into 2 raised to power minus S dash. So actually it's the bit score, and then here we correlate that with the E values. So E and P are related with one another, as in the last part we see that E is equal to mn into P value. So E is actually the correction of P value for multiple testing. So when you are doing a large number of statistical tests, in that case you get a large number of the P values. So after those multiple tests, we do some test corrections. So in that case, we will normalize those P values. So that is kind of the concept which is dealt over here. We will look into it or get back into it when we talk about our data analysis part.